Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we got ourselves a nice fun one to go through. We're gonna this the story and the art. I actually really enjoyed this one. So what is going on in the background? This is the first prompt for Drawtober. I figured, you know what, the first prompt was vampire. I'm gonna use one of the characters from a D&D game I'm playing right now with some friends. This is Herr Gustav. Now this is within the confines of the world that the Dungeon Master has made. He is a vampire inquisitor paladin, so I can't even heal myself. I have to eat people to heal. So I've made it his mission to never take damage, and so far I'm doing a pretty damn good job of it. But I can only heal other people. But it's super fun too, because he's really a... There's no nice way to put it. He's a dick. He's so mean to the other paladin. But it's fully in character. It's fully in character. I might actually have him cameo in my webcomic. Who knows? Which was based on another D&D game. Oh yeah, if nobody knows that, I do draw a webcomic. And it's up on, at least for now, on Webtoon. There will be a link to that comic currently in the description. So, let's get into the story. Since we're doing a Halloween-themed drawing here, and it's currently Halloween month, I'm gonna call it month because, let's be real, it's spooky month. And don't let anybody ever tell you otherwise. So, the stories really happened when I went to college, and I had just arrived at college, and this is where our story begins. There was this place in the building, they called it the club spaces. It was more of a social hub where people of like-mindedness could kind of congregate in these different rooms that had a theme to them. There was like a sci-fi club, there was like an anime club, it was all kinds, and it was not limited to just hobbies, it was limited, it wasn't limited to other things. No, there was, it wasn't limited to just hobbies. There were like religious groups and all kinds. There was a radio room, which I managed to get into at some point. Anyway, so I was walking by one day. I walked by this room. They were listening to heavy metal. I walked by and I was brought into the room. Long story short, I became a member of the club space. But the space was like, it was like a closet at best. And the executives that were there, they were really awesome people, but they didn't have much time to put into the space, and I had a little more free time because at that semester I had a much lighter schedule, oddly enough. And so I said, hey, you know what, maybe I could do something for these guys. I had just gotten out of trade school, worked a bit. I could fix this place up. I could really do something with it. And so I got the permission, I got them to approve the budget through the student union and whatever they had to do. There was a whole process to it. And I managed to get a few of them to help me out. We went down to the hardware store, we picked up this 4x8 sheet of the insulation foam, that pink insulation foam that you use to make Warhammer terrain. Yes, I do that too. And so we brought it back, and it was hilarious because it was the windiest damn day for a few guys to be carrying a giant 4x8 sheet, which we did not want to break. With the wind, and it was just really awkward because we had to cover like 10 blocks to get back to the building. And so anyway, long story short, we got there and we decided to close the space to the public for a few days. We were just carving this sheet up into cobbled stone walls and making it look like a dungeon, basically. So we were making walls for our walls, and we finished it, painted it, put moss on it. Like I went ham with my Warhammer terrain building skittles. The next Monday, the other executives came in. They made me an executive right then and there. They saw the room. It looked literally like a dungeon with a shelf of vaguely morbid things. Yes, they had one of those. And I say vaguely morbid because there were things on it that could be considered morbid and things that were like, it's kind of a gray zone. I'm not sure. But the shelf was there, and it was, I guess, our centerpiece of the room. It was funny. We listened to metal and we were just living in a dungeon. One day, I think it was like a couple of days after that, and we're in October now, one of the executives of the student union, and she comes by and she's like, wow, you guys are really gonna win the Halloween club space decoration contest for sure. And we all just looked at each other like, what? This is just our club space. There's a competition? We didn't say anything. We just looked at, she just walked away, and we're like, Okay. And then they came and gave us a prize and everything at the end of the week or something. I was just like really confused because we didn't even participate. But apparently building these walls was a thing to do, and it just gave us automatic win. It made one of the or two of the other club spaces in the building kind of, I guess, competitive with us. Like, we have to outdo them next year. So I think it was the Chill Club or something. They were like, we're building a haunted house, and like, kudos to them. It was actually really cool. I actually even helped out on it once. It was a good fun time. Halloween was always fun in college, but that was like one of those minor things that happened I found was really amusing. But the really cool thing, this is the meat. I made the deadliest Halloween costume I have ever made in my life during one of those years by accident. There's an interesting story. So at one point we were like, hey, what are we going to do for Halloween? Because the year before, the second year, there was this Halloween costume contest held down in the main atrium of the building. People would show up with all kinds of costumes, really cool costumes. And one of these, this group of girls came in. There was 4 of them. And they came in as the Titanic. They were dressed as the Titanic. One of them, I think, was the iceberg. And kind of a low jab there, but hey, it's you know what? It was cool. It looked really cool. And this got me thinking. I was like, well, and they did really well. I think they won the costume competition. So I figured, you know what? Hey, if they do it again next year, we could totally like jump in on that and try to do something really crazy. So we come to the next year, and I'm looking at my club space where there was a bunch of history buffs in there, and yes, we all are in that room. But we're listening to heavy metal, we're sitting down listening to Sabaton, and we're just like, hey, you know what we could do for this year? Let's build a tank. Let's just build a fully functioning multi-man tank. We would never fit it into the atrium, so we ended up scaling that down to a smaller one-man tank. Not a very impressive build. We had big ambitions. We wanted this to be huge, but we ended up having to make it a one-man thing. It is what it is. But we committed to it. We're building this tank. We got a bunch of designs of different tank models, put them together. We pulled a lot of inspiration from like the Cromwell. We pulled some stuff from Warhammer, and then we pulled like a Panzer IV. We got all kinds of stuff that we liked the sleek looks of. We put them together into this model. We're like, okay, so we have to build this thing out of cardboard. We went to the shipping department. They thankfully liked us. So we took all their boxes and we said, okay, this is going to be our paneling and whatever, but how do we hold them together? We're not going to use tape. That's going to be crappy. And so we ended up settling on tie wraps or zap straps. We bought a few packs of those. We couldn't really rivet the thing, but now that I think about it, rivets might have been better. But anyway, tie wraps worked. We managed to do it, pull this thing off. It was really cool. It was this big block. I even studied inside this thing once. I put it over the table and I was just sitting inside the tank, just studying for a test once. But the really cool part is that we didn't just stop there. No, because that would have been too damn easy. That would have been, we made ourselves a nice looking costume. That's cool, but is it really the best we can do? And so I looked at my team and I was like, guys, we can do this. Let's make it functional. And they looked at me like I was insane. Well, one of them did. The rest of them were like, yeah, that's par for Mike. Yeah, okay. What are you thinking? And like, what if we made the cannon shoot candy bars? Eyes lit up, and they were like, oh yeah, that's gonna be so cool. And I was like, finally, like-minded people. We're on the same wavelength and nobody's calling me nuts. That's great, though they probably should have. So thankfully, one of our buddies was in there. He was an engineering student, and he's like, I got this. You guys just let me handle the functionality of the cannon. And I was like, okay, candy bar cannon, come right up, let's do it. So he ended up, I don't know how he did it, but so I showed up around like 9 the next morning, and I see him there chugging his coffee and working on the thing, and he looks at me, and he was working on another cannon. He was working on a second one because he decided to make 2. I guess he felt like he had time. He made 2 cannons. I guess proof of concept and then the actual one for the tank. And he looked at me, he's like, hey Mike, I got it, it's working, check this out. And I was like, okay, cool, let's see this thing in action, I'm ready to go. And he pulls out a steak knife from his lunch bag and he puts it in the cannon. I'm like, what are you doing, bro? And he just shoots the knife into the wall, and there's a steak knife now sticking out of the wall of our club space. And I'm like, oh no. I said I wanted it to shoot candy bars, man. He's like, yeah, of course it's gonna shoot candy bars. Look at it, it shot a knife. Look at that. Yeah, I don't want to kill people. How hard's it gonna shoot the candy bar? So we had to kind of like tone down the strength a little bit on this thing to be safe, because I had some serious concerns about shooting a Mars bar at Mach 2 outside of this thing and somebody cheering me on, you know, like that's definitely a concern. Seriously, all things aside, you probably shouldn't shoot things out of a cannon at people. That's not something you do. Anyway, we got this thing working safely and managed to get it to shoot candy bars in the direction of cheering fans, but not at them directly, so we didn't hurt anybody. And eventually the cannon broke, because again, we built this thing out of cardboard. So kudos to him for getting the cannon to work out of cardboard. Anyway, it was impressive, but it was extremely deadly for the short lifespan it had. He put a knife in a wall. And that is the deadliest costume for Halloween I have ever built in conjunction with some of my friends. Obviously, more he built the deadly part and I put it on the costume. Anyway, I always loved Halloween. I'm super happy that I got to do that with my buddies. I do not encourage anybody to legitimately put a potentially dangerous object on their costume. That was probably not a good decision on our part, but again, we tried to make it as safe as possible, because, yeah, that's just not a good thing to do. But shooting candy bars, I couldn't resist. We ended up winning that competition anyhow, so that was actually really cool. Anyways, guys, that's all the story for today. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, please consider subscribing. You can always help out the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Ciao.